Hey everyone, welcome back to Epicenter Garage. Today's going to be a pretty fun day like I consider most days working on cars. What can't be fun about working on cars? Well, not all the time, I guess. But today I am finishing up, I just got done finishing up putting the sound deadening mat that goes behind the rear seats on the 930 Turbo here. And I know you guys are probably getting sick and tired of seeing this car, me talking about this car. But once again, you guys know me. And besides this car that has needed a ton of work, I have another car in the big garage that I want to pull out. So let's get in there and see if this thing will even start up. So let's go. Now, as you guys know, I enjoy driving all my cars, but for whatever particular reason, I haven't driven this car in quite some time. And I feel bad. I feel really bad for it. Now, I bought this car about 15 years ago, and I always wanted one. Like all the cars that I have, I've always wanted one. But the main reason why I bought this car is not because it's cool, which it is, but really the reason why Ford built this car in the first place. It has been one of my favorite cars, and I finally had a chance after I started my business. And actually, I almost bought one of these cars for my business, but it literally came down to buying a Ford Taurus or this car. And I couldn't fit all the robotic product that I needed to in this car. So I had to buy the Taurus, which wasn't a bad deal. But I had to go with the Taurus. Now, I still have the Taurus, but part of me, man, I just regretted not buying this car because it was actually less money. I just couldn't fit enough product in the car. And then 15 years ago, my wife and I go to the supermarket, and of course, doing what I do, the first thing I do, she goes that direction, I head right to the magazine rack, and I pick up an old Hemmings Motors. Yes, an old, I don't even know if anybody does that anymore. An old, you remember how thick those things were? I think they still are that thick, but I was thumbing through it, and lo and behold, I found one. And this is it. My 1985 and a half SVO Mustang. Now, I know what you're thinking probably, a half. Why do you have to add the half? Because that's important, and I'll get into why that's important here in a second. Last time I had it out, I put brand new tires on it because it still has the original old gator back. You remember the gator back tires? The coolest tread pattern ever produced besides the Pirelli P7s. But it had the old gator back still on it, so I put brand new tires on it. And for whatever reason, I aired the rear tires up and they're going flat. They go flat all the time. So I don't know what the deal is. So I knew that we needed to bring the air tanks. What we're going to do is we're going to put some air in the rear tires, and the battery should be charged, and we're going to see if this thing, it should start, but like I said, you never know, and it's not Italian, so the chances are very good that it will start. It's American. So let's hit this front tire real fast. And then we are going to push this car out because there is no freaking way that I am going to get in this car the way it is right now. If you guys know anything about these cars, these things are awesome. 2.3 liter, turbocharged. I mean, this was during the craze when, man, everybody started turbocharging cars. Look at all the room right here. Look at all that. That is crazy. Of course, you know, the Fox bodies, a lot of them, obviously you have the Mustang GT, had V8s, and we're going to see if this thing will start first. And then we're going to talk a little bit about this car, and this one in particular as to why I bought this car and why I do truly enjoy it so much. This car is a super low mileage SVO, which nowadays you find these cars and they are all beat the smithereens. Are you kidding me? It won't start. So we're going to check the battery connection one more time. And then we're going to have to give this puppy some juice. We're going to have to give it we're talking a lot of orange juice in this thing. Now this battery is from 2015. It is an EverStart. I believe I probably bought this at Walmart, so that, need I say anything more? Let's see what we got. No dice. Okay, so let us go get the jump start, my big jump start. We're going to make it. We're going to get this done. We're going to get it done. Well, the 2015 EverStart battery, it gave up the ghost. I did all I could to revive it, put a charge on it. No luck. So I had to put a different battery in this car, and you can see here it's sitting at a little bit of an angle, so it's not the proper battery, but I want to be able to get this car into the other shop where the lift is so we can kind of go through this car. So drum roll right here, right? Fantastic. Oh my gosh. Now we don't have very long of a drive. We literally have to go that way about 300 feet, 200 feet and make a left and then another left. So let me put the hood down and let's pull into the other shop. Oh my gosh, it's so good to get this car. Like I said, I have not driven this car or enjoyed it for quite some time, and I really, as anything, I miss driving this car. You guys hear that all the time. So now getting back to how I found this car, once again, I found this in a Hemmings catalog, and there was no pictures. It simply said 1985 and a half, so I knew whoever had this car, putting the half in there, they knew what they were talking about. So just a phone number, red, jalapeno red, I think it's called jalapeno red, SVO for sale, 20,000 or 22,000 miles. I was in Eureka, Illinois, and I needed a car to drive, put a lot of miles on for a robotics company that I was starting. I came out with several products, one called an earthquake machine, which was called the Epicenter. It was big, it was a box that simulated on the Richter scale. And I needed to be able to pack these things in so I could make them the delivery to an educational company. And I just could not fit very many of them in the SVO Mustang, but I could in a Taurus, especially a Taurus SHO. So I had to have an excuse to buy a performance version. And I love the SHO, which I still have, but I always thought about the SVO Mustang, and I passed that car up. I've got to do a few maintenance things. I got to figure out why the back tires are losing air. I'm going to get this thing up. I haven't changed oil on this car. I can't remember. I keep track of things now, but back then I didn't really keep track very well because I didn't have nearly this many cars. So we're going to get up, change the fluids, do the brakes, all that. And so this is probably won't be my daily driver for, the next couple of weeks, but I'm going to really enjoy this car. And a long time ago, I bought a different exhaust. I bought a different exhaust for this car that I never put on because this car is all stock. But oh man, we might have to drag that exhaust out of my mezzanine over here and put that exhaust on. Tucked in behind these 16-inch wheels, which I believe were the first for Mustang or the Fox body platform, were what's considered back in the day huge or enormous disc brakes, not only on the front, but as well on the rear. This was the first Fox body Mustang to ever get four-wheel disc brakes. And of course, that leads me to the back here, which is the infamous bi-level wing, which is so stinking cool. Now this trait, or the double wing, really came out of various racing and race cars. You could actually order these cars without the double bi-wing, which why you would want to order it without that, I just don't know. If you are looking for one of these cars, the interiors, boy, the seats would get ripped, especially the cloth interior. But a lot of these cars actually had, since they were more expensive, they had the leather interior. And of course, then they have dual exhaust. And I don't want to say true dual exhaust, but the exhaust came out either side, just like the GT on the later models. The 1984 SVOs just had the two pipes coming out on the side. Of course, the front end was very European. The era of the 1980s or the early 80s, everybody was starting to go with the flush mount headlights instead of the ones that sink in. But I just absolutely love the look of the front of the SVO Mustangs, and they're so iconic. When you see one coming in on the road, you immediately know that this car is special. Now, this engine had been around for quite some time. You could literally find a variant of this same engine in the Pinto and several other Ford cars. This one, of course, they upped the game. This is turbocharged. You have the thick intercooler right here, and of course the scoop on the front. And you guys have heard me say that a couple different times, that on the hood with an offset scoop like this, that's serious. They just didn't tack on a offset scoop on any particular car because it wasn't needed. That's the real deal. It actually has a function. But if you want to learn more about them, you guys know where to look. Jump on Google and you can find the differences between the 84, 85, 85 and a half, and then of course the 86. They did build quite a few SVO Mustangs. So if you can find one, buy it. You will never regret it. You really will not. They're easy to maintain. You can still get parts for these cars since they shared so many parts with the regular Mustang. Just find the best you can, because it's still going to seem like a very inexpensive, cheap car, and they are so much fun to drive. So a few things I need to do on this car. And I'm reminded every time I drove this car, was this right here, the headliner. Now, you know, SVO Mustangs, well, Mustangs in general, a general of this era, they weren't, man, I don't want to say this, but they weren't built with the highest quality materials inside. So the headliners were very thin, and of course they would always drop. So I have to either fix this headliner or completely replace it, because it's really bad right here. My son, I remember he was always complaining because when we would drive down the road, the foam above the headliner would start to break up, and we'd all come back with itchy eyes because, you know, the headliner was getting in our eyes, or the foam above it. But the dash in this car is really nice. A lot of times these would crack, especially around the speaker. And then we come to actually the gauge panel here. And this gauge panel, every SVO I've ever looked at, they always look like this. And you don't even have to touch these gauge panels, and they start to just, I don't know what it is. They almost have, it's not felt, or it's like this material which just starts to break down, and it just starts to look kind of, I don't know, like it's diseased somehow. And it even does it on the passenger side one here. And you can see here, if you just barely rub your fingers on it, it literally starts to break apart. But that's kind of the character of the car. I was going to refinish it. And a lot of times you get in here and you see old SVOs and people repaint it or they refinish it. I don't think I'm going to do that. I think I'm just going to live with it the way that it is. And it's not a mileage thing, which, you know, honestly, I'm not a mileage snob. I don't care. I wouldn't care if this thing had 200,000 miles on, as long as it's in great shape mechanically. That would be it for me. The steering wheel completely tilts up. That is the tilt. It's the shortest, fastest little hinged tilt wheel in any car I've ever been in. I'm sure other Ford cars are that way. But other things that are really neat is you had a fuel selector down here between premium and unleaded. And that would, of course, you know, it did have an effect on horsepower. So you get the full 205 horsepower. I think it would obviously change timing a little bit between unleaded and premium. You have your fog lamps here, and of course your old clock here, and the stereo, which, you know me, I don't think I've ever even turned the stereo on. To me, this is the top dog when it comes to Fox body Mustangs. The SVO team, which, wait. I need to go to the bathroom. You guys need to come along with me. Hold on. Okay, let's come on in and turn the lights on. I think we can all fit in here. Hopefully there's enough room. But check this ad out. This is quite something. This is an ad for obviously the SVO Mustang. And here it says, "These are the men of Ford Motor Company Special Vehicle Operations. They are men more concerned about 0 to 50 time than 9 to 5. Men who care more about going through a curve than ending the day." With that attitude, they designed the machine. By actual count, Ford Special Vehicle Operations is 28 men in a singular machine. Wow. Could you guys imagine, and women, imagine this ad being in Road and Track today? You guys didn't expect the bathroom to look any different than the rest of my shop, did you? We'll do a bathroom tour at another date. So what I've got to do today is I've got to go get a correct size battery, get this replaced, and then I've got to change the oil, and then I'm going to bleed the brakes so I can get this thing back on the road. I'm going to enjoy this car all week. Before we go, quick update on the Challenge Stradale manual conversion. It is progressing pretty fast, and one of the big pieces to the puzzle is that I needed a Ferrari 360 here to be able to do a few little measurements, because the tunnel, I was pretty sure the tunnel below the center console was different, but you know, pictures just don't do things justice by looking online, looking at pictures. So a massive shout out to Johnny, AKA the Car Ninja, for allowing Mike to drive the Car Ninja, or Johnny's 360 down, so I can literally put my hands on the center console, and specifically the tunnel that runs below that center console. And lo and behold, they are different. There's a few other things I need to look at here, but long story short, there are a few little bits and pieces that I need to order in order to complete this. So Johnny, thank you so much, man, because you're going to save my tail, because what was going to happen, this car is going to be up on the lip, they're going to tear it all apart, be ready to go and be like, oh crap, you know, I need to be able to buy this part or that part. So there's already one piece in here I found that I do need to buy. So big shout out to Johnny. Thank you so much. I owe you, man. That being said, thank you guys so much for watching. If you like this kind of random car work, please subscribe, and we'll see you guys again real soon.